So I'd like to talk today about our Leap Year program. I hope you've had a chance to watch the other talk that I gave about LEAPNOW and transforming education, because it really gives some important background about why we've created these programs. I want to speak specifically about Leap Year because it's our most complex program, and it's really difficult to get a sense of the fullness of the program just by reading about it, because it's so different from anything else out there. So prior to starting running these group programs, I used to be a gap year counselor, and young people would come into my office and we'd set up a gap year for them with a series of internships. And I became aware as I worked with them that there was a deep, what I call a soul need, kind of crying call within them for something more. So I really felt, I looked around for programs that were more holistic in their focus, and I didn't find any. I found drug and alcohol treatment programs. I found very short-term rites of passage programs, but I didn't find anything that really honored the importance of this 17, 18, 19-year-old transition into adulthood and everything that's needed to do that gracefully and powerfully. I just didn't see any programs out there that met the need of these young people. And so my wife and I created Leap Year. And the intent of Leap Year was to really honor the value of doing something outside of the classroom. Pretty much every young person that I worked with who did a gap year came back and said, I learned so much more than I ever learned in a year of high school, in my first 2 weeks. That was very, very common to hear. And I really felt, now why is this form of learning not valued by our educational system? So I was determined to bring this kind of learning into the educational system so that what's really developmentally needed at this time can be valued and given credit. And so I wanted to create a program that fit into where you could take a year on without having to take a year off, and where you could get financial aid for your learning, and not simply have to take time off, which is kind of a ridiculous term, because as far as I can tell, sitting in a classroom listening to a teacher drone at you is really time off for many, many, many students. And I also noticed when I was in college that many of my freshman classmates were taking time off. It was called freshman year, and their parents were paying a lot for it, but it was time off. They just needed a break, and so they gave themselves a break, and of course their learning suffered. Or they did a different kind of learning is probably what actually happened. So we wanted to create a program where time on, experiential, direct learning in the world was valued, so that students could go out into the world and actually practice something that was of deep interest to them. Say, going and working in a medical clinic before making the decision to go pre-med. We also really wanted to focus on the inner journey, because there's so much happening at this time of life that needs conscious attention. And we also wanted to build in times of reflection with times of intense action. And we also really wanted to help people get a sense of the context of their lives. So much of our learning, we go into a classroom and our teacher says to us, okay, today we're going to study haiku. And we learn about the syllables of haiku, but it's not put in context. Why is it important to know haiku? Why is it important to know about conic sections in geometry class? How does that relate to my life? And so many students come out of high school with a sense of, okay, how is that relevant? And And that's a tremendous disservice both to the student and to the process of learning.